Creative iOS apps from Pixite are an integral part of my workflow, from documenting in Zinnia, logo design and assembly, to colouring in Pigment. Try a creative app today that's mobile and contextual to your unique creative process.
Okay, so let's finish her off and do the little minute details and finish off everything else that needs to get in here. So I'm going to color those flowers, and I was thinking of coloring them not quite the colors that we've used, something a little bit different, but that still looks really nice. I'm going to try the wild berry reds. I really like these reds. I use them quite often. I just think black hair with a nice red rose, how can you go wrong? I know that she's wearing pink and there's other colors, but you know what? I don't really care, because red roses are red roses. And red roses go with anything, in my opinion. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna color some pretty red roses. I also really like the reds in Vintage Sweater. I'm sure you've watched a video or two where I've used those reds and those oranges both paired together for skin tone, which works amazing. And I love using this palette as well. It's definitely one of my favorite palettes, the Winterberry. I do go back to it quite often. Not to mention I have 50 odd some of my own palettes made that I also use quite frequently. But I definitely have my Pigment palette favorite colors, that's for sure. And I'm just coloring it in with the airbrush. The airbrush is working just fine right now for filling in these roses, or this rose. There's one thing that is bothering me a little bit. I should have a little bit more detail on this strand of hair, because it's off by itself. I neglected it a little bit there. Well, the red really stands out, that's for sure. That isn't a bad thing. Now we can revert to a little, we'll go back to our Winterberry. We can revert to like a purple color for maybe the other flower. Like a nice deep plum. So that kind of mixes and blends with the dress. You know, I'm just gonna go with the technical pen for this. Sometimes I just find it's easier than having to play with the brush size constantly. sure your opacity is all the way up or you get very choppy. You don't get a full fill. You don't get a fulfilled fill. Alright, so you got like a little purple kind of hanging out there. But I'm going to add some pink to it. Now I'm going to go back to airbrush. Back to my recently. Nope, that I don't have the pink I want. So I'm going to have to find it. Something like that. It's all in how you highlight something sometimes that makes it stand out and just really work. Now it's purple, but it has like that nice pink element, you know? That blends even better with the dress. Now for that red rose, let's go back to Winterberry. I'm gonna deepen up that red and just kind of shade just a little bit more, reiterate the shades that are already there, kind of reinforce them, make them more prominent. And we'll go and we'll add a bit of brighter red to some areas to get the highlight going for the rose. And an absolute favorite red that I use to mix with my other reds for highlighting is from the actual red palette, and it's the bright red right here. And it's really great just to kind of add that last highlight to just about any kind of red. It just works great. I don't use a lot of it, I just use it as a highlight. I do this a lot for lips too, when I do red lips. I was wondering if I should. No, you know what? I like her lips the way they are. I like them neutral. It suits her. Okay, now let's do the leaves here. I'm gonna do those leaves a little bit of a different green than the one. I noticed something. Hold on, I just noticed something. Need to get in here. May or may have not just found a pink that I really like, so I'm just playing with it here. Yeah, I like it. I'm gonna leave it. I like it mixed with the other pink. It looks nice. Okay, nice discovery. Let's move on. I want to use a different kind of green combination. You know what? This rainforest green color that I tried using on her eyes, it might really come in handy right now for these little leaves right here. Maybe just deepen up the green to start. I know this has been a little bit of a long video with all the filling and details and everybody and everything, everybody. So thanks for sticking with me through it all. As you can see, I'm not even talking right. So I'm just getting these leaves filled just like I did everything else, filling in the color. Some stuff looks blurred, and it's because it's behind the wings. So we kind of have to keep that in mind because that's the overall effect that we'll be going for when I get to the wings. But I want to get everything colored before I even touch them. Because it's not going to be like coloring them, it's going to be more highlighting certain areas. So just finishing off these last final details. And I'm going to lighten it back up to its original color. I'm going to add some highlights. Maybe not that much because it's bleeding out. Turn down my brush size a bit. Anyone who's used airbrush, I'm sure, knows that it does have a very wide spread the harder that you press. So when you're doing little areas like this, and you want to add some detail, just make sure you're not pressing hard. It also helps to have it on a lower brush size. Get a little bit of yellow to the leaves for a little added highlight look. I do that quite often too. I add yellow. Okay, now I think the last little piece of detail that we need to do is the bird, but before I finish off with the bird, I want to make sure that there's nothing left that I want to do in the sky, and I'm not 100% sure that there isn't, so I'm going to grab my pastel and grab my yellow here. And I'm just going to finish off anything that I want to do with the sky. No, I don't want that over there. I like it just coming out of here over on the side. And this adds a little bit of texture to the sky too, instead of just having like a very smooth airbrush sky. There's nothing wrong with that, but I do like a bit of texture. And if you get too much texture, you can always blur it or blend it. That's why I left my sky, because I didn't know how my picture was going to look after I was done coloring it. So I like adding the little finer details at the end. I find I know what my picture is looking like, and I have a really good feeling about the purpose and the direction of the picture at this point. So then doing all these details seems to make more sense for me. It might help you to try that as well. Not sure how your coloring style is. Everybody is different, but that's what I find is nice for me. The pastel brush is just really great for those textured blends. Like, it just is, it's honestly just amazing for stuff like this. And I'm pressing very light, and I'm just adding in these colors that blend nicely, and it just works. Just works great for skies. It really, really does. So this is going to be a really cool tutorial because it's very long, but it covers a lot. You know, it covers like how to make cool backgrounds, and I think it's a good tutorial for anyone who wants to know these kinds of things. I love the background. I think it looks pretty great actually. Now if you want to add a little bit of detail to this beautiful sky that we made, I don't know if I want to yet, but I'm going to try. And take the plasma and gently just kind of put it in some of these areas. Totally not necessary. But fun. Just add a little bit more light detail to the sky. That's all it's for. Just add that little extra last minute. Now I think I liked this one toned down more. This one can be a little bit stronger. We can also, I want to pick out, maybe I'll just use this pink here since it's here. I just want to try something with the laser. I want to add a little bit of glitter maybe. Not a lot, just a little bit. It just gives that much more little bit of shine and shimmer and all that fun stuff. This is my favorite part of coloring, and my favorite part is when I'm almost done and I get to do all these little last minute details. It really is what I look forward to the most. Add in that little bit of extra shine to the hair if you want. I'm using the laser for all my final highlights. Get that added shine. Now let's color the bird. And then we're pretty much done. Okay, now bird time. So the bird, I think I'm gonna do him blue. Start him off as a nice dark blue, and then we'll add some details to him. Or her. Use a technical pen here. Just filling the bird. I just hit the eraser button on accident. So I'm just getting this kind of tealy type green blue down. Then I'm gonna add some bright colors to it. Maybe even some sparkle, we'll see. I'm gonna use airbrush there so it blends. I'm just gonna touch up her hair here. With the airbrush too. I kind of went out of bounds here a little bit. Not that it really matters that much. I'm just fixing around her hairline here. Very easy to go out of the lines. Like I said, not like it's a huge deal, but I noticed it, so I'm fixing it. Got a little bit of shine to her nail. Here's an easy way to fix a mistake. I noticed I put a sparkle there and I don't want it. So I just put it on high blur and it's gone. Same within here, you could blur this just to fix it a bit, because I did grab some of the color from the pastel brush. So if you blur it a little bit, it'll take a lot of it away. And then you can just go back over it. Yeah, when I was doing more stuff to the background, I took a little bit of the color out because pastel brush grabs color and pulls it, right? But even just blurring it helps a lot. And if you want to fix it a bit more, you just go in with the airbrush. I think that's good though. Okay, now let's finish off this bird. Gonna add some blue, some lighter blue, put some darker blue in the areas that are a little bit darker, a little bit of shading. Maybe I'll grab pastel because it has some texture. And just kind of put some light blue in here. Again, you got to be careful with the pastel, especially in small areas. I'm zoomed right in so I could see if I'm pulling any color. Just a really nice way to add texture, I find, and blend. Gonna go to pencil. Some nice control with the pencil brush for adding the colors that I want. So I'll do that. Almost done. Just using the pencil to add some details, as you can see. Adding some yellow and some orange to the feathers, which I think is nice. The pencil's nice because it also gives texture, but it's not a blending type texture, so you can have a lot of control and you don't have to worry about pulling color out of places. it up. It looks like it's a little bit blurry here, so maybe we'll lighten up and just put a little bit of white there. No particular reason, just because I felt like it. As you can see, the pencil gives a nice kind of realistic texture for the feathers too. Just highlights really well and just looks really nice, so you can't go wrong. Now let's go to the airbrush. Put my white little reflection in the eye there. Maybe not so white, maybe just a little that. Now let's do the beak. Using the airbrush for the beak because there's no definitive lines. And with the airbrush, a really nice thing is that it blends really nicely, so you can blend the beak so you don't have a harsh line in your beak. You can just blend. And I like that little birdie's cute. Just add a little bit of highlight to the beak. So it doesn't look so one color. There. Very sweet. Okay, now the last and final part is the wings. And now I'm nervous about doing them because I love how everything else has turned out. So maybe what I'll do, very lightly with the airbrush, so it doesn't stand out too much, is just go over the lines. And maybe add a little bit of too light. Add a little bit of light without, very important, without taking away from the detail that we created in behind. Very lightly. So light. You're barely touching. In fact, I'm going to bring down my opacity so I have more control. You do not want to take away all the detail that we did back there. and just go over some of the lightest parts. You don't have to go over all of them. Just go over some of the lightest parts of the wings that she has accentuated. And you don't have to go over all of them, and you don't have to go and make hard presses or anything. Very light. Just highlight some of them. We want the wings to stand out. Just like that, and I'm going to add some sparkle to them as well. But I just want to get the other one done over here. Same thing that we did over there. Just adding some very light detail. Add a little bit of lightness in general. That was the whole point of this, right? Doing the background the way that we did, and everything was setting these wings up. It was a master plan, if you want to call it that. There was an intention for everything that we did in this coloring, and it was all to have these beautiful wings stand out, and to see the beautiful background behind them. So it took a long time to get to the end part of it all, but the main part of this whole tutorial, and the reason why I wanted to make it, was to help with transparency. And that's why I chose her. Like I said, just go over some of the areas that you see where there's light. And it doesn't have to be all of them. It's better if it's not all of them. Towards the body, make it a little bit lighter. When you get close to the body, it should be the lightest. And as it branches out, it shouldn't be as light. Or shouldn't be as dark or as prominent. Don't mind me if I'm messing up my words. I've been sitting coloring for, it's going on 3 hours now. So you see how you get this transparency though, right? You don't press hard to lose all that beautiful color in the background. Just press very lightly, and then you see through it, and you see the flowers, and you see the foliage, and you see the sky. And it just makes for such a beautiful, beautiful picture. I'm really impressed with this picture, and I really like the way it turned out, and I hope you do as well. And I hope that it helps you in your coloring adventures. And if there's ever something you want to see, or think of something that you might want help with, or you just want to see more of it to get better ideas, don't be shy to list that below. We will see your messages and we will get to it. So there, my beautiful fairy wings. Now, to add even more glamour to these wings, there's one of two things that we can do. We can grab the glitter tool, and we can keep the opacity down and the brush size up, and we can add just some very light glitter to some areas. Don't overdo it. Don't ruin the beautiful detail that we did with the airbrush. It's just to add. I would mostly stick it to around the edge actually. Maybe a couple spots throughout the middle. And then what I would do is I would go to the laser and bring up the opacity, bring down the brush size to start, maybe a little bit more, and then I would add some nice little sparkles throughout. This picture was a really great example of coloring your grayscale planned and thinking about the layers necessary to achieve the look that you want. This was a really great example of that. So I really hope that it helped you coloring grayscale pieces, because it helps to see more than just one piece colored, right? Because then you get to see different techniques used to achieve different stuff. Sorry, I just wanted to touch something up there that I noticed. You could still see quite a bit of the hand color compared to everything else. Adding glitter around the edges and throughout the wings for the final touches on them. Changing the sizes a bit here and there. Mostly keeping them quite small, the sparkles that is. A couple bigger ones. I just want to fix under here really quick. Just touching things up as I go along, that's all. When I notice that something's off, I fix it when I'm doing the ends of my pieces. Couple more sparkles maybe. All right, and I think it's done, guys. I think we can finally say that she's done. Thank you so much for joining me today. Again, this is from Raen. You can find her stuff on Etsy, and you can find her coloring group on Facebook if you want to post your beautiful artworks there. So fun to color. Thanks for sticking with me through it all. I know it was the long haul, but I hope that it helped you with creating transparency in your work. And we'll see you again next time, guys. And again, this book is called A Royal Summer. Okay, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.